Are you doing the thing?
Oh, the thing that, oh, well, we're live, but we could do the thing.
I didn't know if you want to do
I
the
know.
thing.
Oh, here's the thing, people. So, like I said, nothing to see. Very little happening in the message center. In fact, don't worry about it. If you're an Office 365 admin, don't even bother checking. There's really nothing happening this week. Yeah, like I said, nothing happening. Did that make you look at the message center? Did my reverse psychology help?
Me? I,
Yeah,
I was already looking at the Message Center, of course, because that's the point of the whole show is we're
yeah,
advocating people to be, looking at the Message Center.
yeah, of course.
Um, but your reverse psychology, I think it was lost on me. Maybe it's the translation from the southern to the northern hemisphere. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can provide subtitles if you want.
Mm.
Never mind. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Yeah, look, doing my best here. I got back from a trip, doing various things down south for a client, and yeah, my router's having some issues. So hopefully the stream is coming through okay. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Looks good from here.
Yeah, works on my machine, as he
Works on
says.
my machine. Yeah, we've heard that before. Yeah, so a lot happening in the message center, and to be
We got to get
honest,
on it,
yeah, we've
man.
got to get on it. There's a lot. Three major updates, three big cards. They're
Yeah.
gonna have to figure out another way of sharing that. If we get more cards than that, so
Yeah.
here we are. Let's get into it. We have yeah, like I said, three major updates starting from the bottom. We have centralized deployment, Outlook add-ins in preview.
Yep.
Know much about this?
I don't know too much about it other than, and this is going to be a highlight. This is going to be a common occurrence for some of these announcements. Well, most of the announcements that we see this week, but also in others, is that if you click that additional information, you're going to be sent to a blog post that was posted months ago, saying here are the things that we're thinking about or that are coming down the pike, which is good. I think, though, we are in the message center. We're preparing for what's coming, and so there's not a major blog post or something saying here it is because we're kind of before that. So sometimes we get this additional information and it's not that great. Which, I mean, it was great in the announcement, but doesn't give us a lot of detail at exactly what's going on or
Yeah, good point.
how to prepare. I think the blog post that was done, this one points to one in May 31st of last year, is a good one. It just doesn't give us a whole lot of detail as to what the experience is. And that's kind of the point of this show is what do you need to prepare for this? Now, the first thing I saw this and I read it and I'm like, so does this mean that we can push out add-ins to our organization like Find Time? This is what I want to know.
Yeah, I believe that is what it means, because they've started doing this with, or they did this earlier with the other applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. So Outlook is a latecomer for this.
Yep.
And it is about trying to push out add-ins and standardize that experience. What I do like is that there's a couple of ways to do it, that you can push them so that they're there and available and everyone gets that standard, or you can allow people to drive it themselves and just make them available.
Right.
It works with store add-ins that are available to the public, and if you've created your own add-ins, then you can deploy them that way too.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So yeah, good to see it coming, and I think that Find Time would be another one that, it's a popular one, and I think that would be a prime candidate for that. But it is in preview at the moment, so
Right.
so
Exactly.
check it out. All right, and yeah, great point, Dan, about pointing to an old blog post. Here's what we're thinking about. We're planning to put this in the future.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we do need it phrased a bit differently, or any more recent information.
Well,
Uh,
it'll come. It's just, now it's just kind of the early planning phases for organizations as they see these announcements. So,
Yeah. Hey, new feature. Let's try and make that a little bigger. Shared by me in OneDrive for Business on the web. Now, I Yeah, I went looking for it. Of course,
It's not there.
No, not there yet. It says to target release beginning in early March. So Daryl's jumping
Yeah.
the gun. But just to look at what we already have, pushing our faces to the other side.
Wait,
we
what?
have. I know. I have that power. We've got files, our files view, our recent view, what's going on. Then we've got our shared with me view, which is quite useful. Now that, I don't know about you, Dan, but this is where you should go rather than going back and going, where was that email invite of that document that was shared with me from OneDrive? This is the better place to go rather than looking for attachments all over the place.
I agree.
So this is where the new view will appear to show what you are sharing with others. A quick way to go, what is still being shared? And then you can go through and triage that and decide, that doesn't need to be shared anymore.
And I love this. This is big for me. I think when you're talking to organizations about sharing, of course, you get past the initial, well, what if people share stuff they're not supposed to? And you can have those, we have some great answers to that. But then there's how do I manage all of this from a user perspective? How do I know what I've shared? What is still, we can create expiring links now, for instance. Well, that's great. But which ones are still open, and who have I shared with? And I don't want to reshare something that I've already shared, all that kind of stuff. And I think this shared section is going to be improved with that information. I'm really liking this. We've been talking about this for a while internally, so this is good news.
Yeah, certainly better than trying to recall, which document do I need to visit to unshare.
Yep.
Yeah, long way from that. Okay. We have enhancements to the Office 365 Me control.
Yeah, this is kind of I don't want to say misleading, but the thought of if you say the Office 365 Me control, what
it's
is
this
that?
thing, right? It's this
right,
thing.
It's that. So what this is saying is they're going to remove your name. So where it says Daryl Webster there on the screen, that's going to go away.
Because you know who you are.
Right, exactly. So that's going to go away, and it's just going to be your picture, unless you don't have a picture, and then it's going to be your initials of your given name and your surname. So your first name, last name.
Okay.
That's in Office 365.
Is that
so it'll be those letters, like it is in SharePoint. You know how we get the wonderful letters for site names and such by default. That's how it's going to act.
So that's considered the modernized experience, to place letters where there would be no face.
Right.
Okay.
I guess.
You can revert to the original design. You can go back to show users' full names. Yep. Okay.
If you want to. I think this is good because why do I need to know my name? If I see my picture, I know I'm logged in. This is the same experience you see in lots of other services like YouTube, for instance. If you're logged in and chatting with us today, then all you see in the top right is your picture. Yeah. Well, you don't need your name. So I think this is good. I like this.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd like to, if anybody in the chat would like to chime in and we'll catch up with you, but whether you like this or not, but I do like it.
All right. Well, it's not too much more to say about it. It's a picture change,
right,
and a loss of words. I'm lost for words. Updated feature, Exchange mailbox audit improvements. Yeah, I haven't read a lot into this.
No, it's good. We're just adding another trigger for mailbox changes. So for security, this is a good thing. It's not my cup of tea to dive into this technically, because we'll be here all day, but not all day, but it's good. So we're able to do a little bit more auditing on the changes to our mailboxes. So this is good.
And it looks like it's one that's been called out as updating your folder permissions. So if you've right-clicked and said, I want to share this folder with someone in my team, then you're able to capture that in audit. So drilling down and getting more detail.
Yeah, that'll be in the unified audit log.
Right. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. And it does seem to be just that particular permission. Still good.
Just adding an additional trigger.
Okay. Improvements to SharePoint Online search experience. Well, whenever search is improved, I'm happy.
Yes.
That helps a lot. What are we expecting to see here? Redesigned and streamlined.
Yeah, and this is the streamlining, and I think we've seen a preview of this. I want to say that we've seen a preview in a blog post, but all about streamlining because they're throwing in people and other types of information to be found here. And, we're getting additional previews for additional file types, right? We went from previews for Office files to now 200 and something. So this is just kind of streamlining that process. It's going to be interesting to see how it changes and how it affects people within organizations, how they work with search. Because I think search is, every time I have a conversation with an organization that's moving to 365, for instance, from like 2010 SharePoint or just file shares or whatever, the search experience is so much better that they have to get used to it. And I'm wondering if that change, for the search experience is a big enough change to where you're going to have to do some change management, making sure that your users are up to speed on what's going to be changing. Because, that shock of, wait a minute, am I in the right place what's going on here? So,
right. Well, I've had that additional information, and like you said, it's a trend for this week that it does go off to a blog post from June from Naomi Moneypenny. But it is, what they're aiming at delivering, and they did talk about it at Ignite. I feel like there is a connection there between this unified showing people and content together in a different way. We've seen something similar to that in the Outlook app and unifying search and making it front and center.
Right.
So not the easiest thing to see on this screenshot. I could make it slightly larger so our audience can see, but just refreshing there. This thing doesn't have a, what do you call it, a light room? Or light box, where you click on it and it makes it bigger. So it's very cardy. Brings up to the front very rich results for that search. So you can see at a glance, I recognise that content because I can see a picture of it. You've got placeholders for searching. So I guess that means that you're able to bring certain search results further up, people partway down.
Yeah, because it's going to include people automatically rather than having to click people. So, and I like that. So less clicks is better. It's just that when I see this as a user, I need to, this is a shock. Wait a minute, is this the right search? And am I losing search results because I'm having to include other stuff here below? So anyway, just change management. Making sure.
No. Just, I guess, real estate rather than anything. Do you think we'll see an infinite scroll ever with search results like this?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
But I mean, I guess I just I've got a nice little mouse here which does that, flywheel thing, and I can just go. Whew, and I can see all the
and I think. It would be interesting to know what the stats say about when you do a search. What page do you find the content on? I know Google and Bing, but for SharePoint and intranets, what is that experience like? Do people do they narrow down their search well enough to where they can say, I click the second or third link all the time? Or is it that they have to go through and scroll? I don't know.
Yeah, good point though, and that would be good information to pass through to some kind of Power BI adoption user portal thingo.
That's a lot of words there, Daryl.
Yeah, I put in thingo because it makes me sound smart.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll run with that. Moving on, we've got a compliance manager is available.
Can we switch over to chat real quick?
Oh, right. So
just real quick,
who's talking about what?
So one thing I wanted to highlight is we talked about the removing your name. And Sandy brought up a good point. If you're switching, now this is not everybody, but if you're switching accounts, doing demos or whatever, and you're switching accounts, it's good to know which account you're using, because you can use a different name. And so the point here is that you need to make sure you're using a different picture. If the name is gone and it's you're logging into demos or different accounts, different tenants, then make sure you're using a different picture so that you know which one it is, or you're going to have to hover. I think it's a specialized case, consultants and admins. So not every user is going to be having that experience, but it's still something you need to keep in mind. So
yeah, good point. Yeah, and it's we do find there's some features that we ask about just because we're in and out of tenants a lot as consultants.
Right.
But for the bulk of Microsoft's customers and audience, they're predominantly in one tenant and maybe occasionally as a guest somewhere, but using the same account.
Yep. Yeah. And one thing Stephen brought up was about, we were talking about the enhancements for search. What's the point of Delve anymore? Now, I think there's a big point to having Delve, but there's a lot of talk around Delve and the future, and I think, I'm not saying it's going away, because I think it's touching more and it's surfacing more. I think
maybe it's more about the Delve page being redundant, because we see the search results, the graph powered results that make it relevant to you are being pushed into the product. So it's wherever you are, the search results will be, and there's not really this concept of I need to go to a Delve page now.
Right, which is a great thing. If I'm in Outlook and I do a search, I want it to search everything. Now, I want it to surface the stuff in Outlook first, but I want, if I search for a specific name of a document, for instance, and it's in SharePoint or in OneDrive, I'd like for it to surface at that, rather than I have to go to the Delve's page, or I have to go to OneDrive or SharePoint. I want to be able to search. Plug into that in whatever service I'm in. So that's exactly to your point.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's see what else. Oh, no, we missed over that. So the compliance manager is now available.
We've talked about that.
Yeah,
it's a good
running
thing.
Through and seeing how compliant you are and testing against many different standards. I like to make that point again. Still people say, oh, how safe is the cloud? And look, well, okay, how many of these standards does your data center meet?
And I talked with, who was it I was talking with? We talked about this in October, when they were kind of thinking about running stuff going, how do we check against, and I think the compliance manager was the answer to that. How you can run this against your environment. Say, here's all of it. And I talk to people all the time, security, and that's great. I'm glad people are getting that mindset. But how do we encourage or get people satisfied with the answer of it's more secure than your environment? Depends on who you're talking to, but this is the most secure cloud, in my opinion. So how do we relate that? And the thing I was thinking about is actually I did a video with Liam when we were in San Francisco. So that's posted in our channel, talking about being able to get that information to users, to admins and decision makers.
Yeah, that's right. And it's literally just go through the wizard. New ways to govern access for external users come into Office 365. So it's coming. Does it say much about it?
This is big, actually, and I'm glad they gave us a month to deal with this. This is big. People should pay attention to this. If you've been using the, everyone, to give everyone access, anyone that's in your tenant, including external people, access to content, then it's going to stop functioning that way. So this is actually pretty big, and this is probably the biggest one, I think, that you need to be paying attention to that might affect the way you're using it now. The biggest announcement we have this week, because it is a lot of people are talking. In fact, I just got off a call with a client about how can we allow external vendors in to share content with them so we can be productive. And, this is I set up an intranet, a separate space on my intranet for all of my people, and they can come in and see my page and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're implementing that with the everyone or all authenticated users groups, then this is going to turn it off.
So what are they supposed to use in place of that? You have to fill up security groups and add everyone into the group?
Yeah, this is going to be more, you're going to have to do a better job at managing your external access, I believe. So this is, before it was just, okay, I'm going to invite you and I've got it already set up, so now you can just get in. It's a little bit more granular. I think what's going to be interesting is how people switch from using this to what, it's more about I'm sharing individual content with you. So this is going to be interesting of how this happens.
It's not talking about that group that's everyone except external users. So is that group still going to exist? Because it just says everyone, all authenticated users, everyone, or all forms users. And so that means I could share it with everyone in my organization and in my tenants, but exclude the guest users that I've invited to my tenants. Seems like that group's still available.
It is. In fact, on the document for the additional information, it says, although we continue to support sharing with the everyone except external users, all authenticated users, and all forms users, we encourage customers to implement role-based access management by using customer-defined groups in Azure AD, including Office 365 groups. So this is the switch from sharing, the whole thing based upon everyone to using groups to manage users and users' access.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, that's definitely something to take note of if you need to go through and tidy things up. I guess they need one of those shared with all users filters, like we just talked about with the OneDrive, to go back and go, well, which sites and content is affected.
That's a great job there. Great lead in that on that there is a SharePoint search query tool that helps you, that they're suggesting for you to use in this. So I think that being able to query and figure out what tool, how this is used within your organization is going to be important. So, and
that's in the support article down here.
That's at the very bottom.
Read the whole article.
Yeah, but right there, that SharePoint search query tool.
Oh, there.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure how to use it. I haven't done it yet for this specific example, but yeah.
Well, we're all about creating awareness, and even if it's, look, we've got it open on the page, you recognize this article. Do visit it, do read it, be responsible, and figure it out.
That's right.
All right. And I think this is the last one in the list before we get into what hasn't been mentioned this week. So, Microsoft Teams, we're making it easier to share and join private teams in Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, what's this mean, Daryl?
Well, again, I haven't quite read this one yet. I know they were playing around with this idea of having an invite link to say, here you go, click this link, and then that it's a way of inviting you into a private team or a team, and that you're not necessarily sending out individual emailed invites to people. Users had to be either invited by the team. So this is in the past, or users had to be either invited to the team from the team, or via the underlying Office 365 group. Now private teams will be discoverable via a search. Okay. In the suggested teams gallery, making it easier to share and discover private teams across the organization. So you'll be able to see those private teams. I thought, couldn't we see private teams there before? Well, it was only the public ones, wasn't it?
Right. That's right.
Yeah, and I think they still need this other third category, which is private but hidden. They have that available for Outlook groups, And the education sector or side of it found that useful, because they might have a group which to show that if you're sure, it might be private, but if you're showing that you're part of that group, then maybe that's detrimental to be known in that group. So you still kind of need that other category.
Sorry, I was chuckling. I'm watching the chat, and Phil says, "Wait for freemium teams."
Freemium teams.
Freemium. So this is the you have to pay a little bit for it.
Yeah, we'll show you the features, but you'll have to pay to get that one.
Right, right. So Sandy's saying she doesn't like this one so far. This is an interesting experience. As Stephen pointed out, when you go to add a team, the gallery will show both private and public. I think this is the experience for this whole team. It seems like it's in its, I don't want to say infancy, but they're trying to figure this out to make it not just figure it out, but it's also MVP, this minimal viable product, and so they're trying to improve on it as we go, and so we're not going to like it 100%, every step of the way, but I think it's good. At least they're trying to address that.
Well, it's I don't recall if it was here or suggested teams. Create a team. I guess in my tenant's not the best example because I've got a bunch of other stuff in it, but
yeah.
I thought I saw something like this in my work tenant with others. Anyway, we'll leave that open, come back to that for later. Well, that is as far as announcements goes. We made our way through it, and we've got a few minutes to spare to talk about a couple of things that haven't been mentioned yet. Who saw the news around Planner and Microsoft Teams? Yeah, I did. And if you check over my left-hand shoulder here, you'll find in the additional links and bits and pieces, click on that, and you'll see I did manage to do a quick live stream. Yeah, orientation.
I don't remember which one.
A quick live stream about what we're seeing. So while we do have Teams open, what this means is that when you have created a plan within Teams, what we experienced earlier was things like this team status report, which I created. It's a planner, but it was not surfacing in the Planner web app.
Right.
So basically the only place you could work with it and change it was within Teams itself. And in that, only the desktop version or the web browser version. But you weren't getting the goodness of being able to go and get access to the other capabilities that you can do with a plan. And those tasks weren't necessarily bubbling up. Now, what came before that was a few weeks back was our own personal planner view, rolling up my tasks. So I've got one place to go and see what have I got to do across all the things that I'm involved in. But now when we create plans within our planner, rather within Teams, then they are available within the Planner Hub. So my recommendation is a quick way to go through to the full experience. You've got your go-to website link in the top right-hand corner within Teams. That'll take you through to Planner, and then you can see the full version where you can see chart views and schedules and filter stuff down. But yeah, that's good. So I stepped through that in that other video. Now, there was something else. Have you noticed anything else in the community this week that really hasn't been mentioned? I know. There was that Yammer thing I was talking about that you probably don't want me to talk about.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, it was announced. I think it was before Christmas, but it finally arrived in my tenant over the last week. The new Yammer web part. So being able to embed and show Yammer conversations in SharePoint pages. Yeah. Not just your home site, but also, let's say, a news page. Now I've got a good example here. If I can just get that. There we go. Disappear. Presenting bar. Where this team, or rather this SharePoint page, still has an example of the old web part, which really was not that exciting. It just showed the feed. You could embed a group. You could embed a hashtag that you might be following, a topic.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we couldn't do was really embed a conversation. So there were workarounds for that, and Simon Denton had a good one. That worked quite well. But really what I've been excited to see is this view. So now that we have the new web part available, we've got a few ways to bring attention to top conversations that are going on in a group, latest conversations, or only conversations that I choose. So if you're wanting to just draw attention to a specific conversation, then you've got up to 4 spots there to use. We'll go over to our... wait for the bar to finish. Go. Let's grab that conversation by clicking on the timestamp. Grab that thread ID. Oh, this is killing me. You are currently sharing. Yes, I know that. Put that in. Alright, so it should load just that conversation.
Yep.
And so when we publish that, of course, it is just a card. Go back out, publish that page. Published. Here's our conversation. And that will take us through to the conversation and the full experience within Yammer. Now, actually, now that I'm stepping through it, that means...
Oh, you're not sharing your screen.
I'm not?
People are not seeing this demo.
Fail! Fail! Okay.
It was great, everybody. I could see it, and it was working really well.
Yeah.
He just didn't push the little button to switch scenes, but it worked really well, people.
It was great, yeah. So yeah, I've done my best to show off that great feature, and now you've seen the end results. Yeah, Yammer web part. I had this example here, so it's still showing the old version and the new web part version. And now that I've stepped through it, I'm thinking, there's some pages that I've been wanting to have this dynamic where the web part is in there and people can engage in the conversation. It's embedded in the page. So imagine you've got a news article, you're wanting people to respond and have that conversation across the organization. You go to the page, you respond, and you can see all those responses. The new web part doesn't seem to offer that. It just offers just a card, which will always push you through to... Okay.
So is that really... Well, and you see the response there, but you're not getting the engagement.
Yeah, well,
right?
that's right.
You're not... Yeah.
Yeah, I can see one response.
Yep.
If I want to respond to it, I click through and I get taken through to Yammer, but I'm not doing that embedded from within the page.
Right.
I wish I wasn't one of the last people to see this. In fact, I wish I'd seen it before it was released, so I could have given some feedback. I'm going to miss this, to be honest, because I was hoping that it would replace this crazy comments box down here, which seems to go nowhere as part of the modern SharePoint experience. This it almost looks like a callback to SharePoint Social, but it doesn't actually do anything except write some words on a page. We need something in between Yammer, SharePoint. Cards are nice, but I wanted some embedded, threaded conversation that could continue within the page. Maybe we'll have a chat next week.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Next week? What's next week? Since we're done with our announcement, what's next week?
Well, we are. You and I are flying places. I'm going a bit further.
Yes, you are.
The MVP Global Summit. So a bunch of, we talked about MVP before, minimum viable product. Well, a bunch of minimum viable professionals are rocking on into Seattle, and we're going to be getting some inside knowledge about what's coming in Microsoft
giving
space. Giving feedback as well.
Such as
this, parts. Yeah, talking about stuff. We'll also do a few interviews as we do, like with regard
and what
to
are we
365.
doing? Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, the other one I'd like to draw your attention to, we are running a regarding 365 debate panel. One of the first that we'll try. The idea is to try and get the conversation out there and get two viewpoints, or two main viewpoints. What is this like from the end user perspective? What is it like from the IT pro perspective? And the first topic that we're discussing is end users should be allowed to create their own Office 365 groups. Agree or disagree. That debate is already, I don't know, man. Lorian seems to be trying to boost his clout score or something, but I kept getting pings all day yesterday, and it was mostly
There's
from
like
him.
50 Twitter mentions, I think. So it was going back and forth. So it's going to be interesting. We've got a panel of eight people or so.
Yeah.
So
Tracy Van der Scaife, Sarah Huzzy, Joanne Klein, Lorian Strant, yourself, Daniel Glenn, Alistair Pugin. We've got Alan Byrne, and who am I missing?
You?
Oh no, Liz Sundit. Yeah, I'm just sitting in the middle.
Liz, that's right.
I'm sitting in the middle with the ref's whistle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Good luck with that.
And we're actually managing to record that in Microsoft Production Studios.
Yes, we are.
I don't know until we arrive if it's something that we can do live, but what I have done is just put in a time slot, embedded something in a story. Yeah, it'll be there somewhere. We'll add it. That way. And it's we'll play the recording after the fact, maybe the following week if we don't manage to do it live.
Yep.
Yeah, big week, lots of stuff going on.
It should be fun. We're going, we'll have a lot of conversations, and I plan on it'd be good to have conversations with people around the world and who are coming to this, as well as Microsoft. And so everyone knows us, knows that we'd like to have conversations and interviews and be very impromptu and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to have a good time next week. So next week's show, Daryl, what are we going to do, Daryl? Are we going to do the show? I want to do the show.
Yeah,
I think we need to get the information out to the people.
We still do. So even though we're at Summit, maybe we'll be doing it without two cameras. You know what I mean? We'll actually be together recording and making it happen. Unfortunately, and I will. You hate it when I do this. It will be pre-recorded because we'll be sitting in a session. Yeah, I know. But we'll be catching up and talking about stuff from MVP, not necessarily NDA content, but definitely in the surrounds of the Redmond campus. So we'll try and bring some of that to our show to share with people. Yep,
it'll be good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So
I think we're about time, my friend.
Yeah, way over time. 8 minutes. Thanks everyone for hanging in there. So that was the Office 365 Message Center of the week. It was episode 36. Tune in for 37. Again, it's over our shoulder, somewhere over there. Oof, yeah, there we go.
Up there maybe.
And we'll catch you again next week from Redmond. Bye for now.
See ya.